Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to part 2 of our interview with Association of BellTel Retirees co-founder Bob Rehm. Bob continues to take us on a look-back journey of the 25-year history of the association, including some important advocacy work such as COLA increases, pension legislation and lawsuits, executive compensation measures, and proxy campaigns, which included some big wins. Here once again is Mr. Bob Rehm.
Let me tell you about some of the major accomplishments that we've had in our 24 to 25 year history. As I mentioned earlier, we started this association because we were concerned the corporation and its executives were not giving any more pension increases to retirees. When I was an executive at Verizon, from 1971 till I retired in 1990, that 19 or 20 year period, Verizon, or the prior company was called 9X and New York Telephone, those companies had given out 9 COLA increases to pensions in that 19 to 20 year period. They weren't great. They averaged around 2% a year, very similar to what the Social Security increase was. But you could almost bank on every 2 or 3 years of getting an increase to your pension. We weren't getting them anymore starting in 1992 or 1993. So we started going in and having sit-down meetings with Ivan Seidenberg, the CEO of then 9X, and Bill Jones and I would make it an objective to get in to see him at least once a year. And they graciously invited us into the office because they were a little concerned with the proxies we were putting in because we were going after executive compensation. We were saying, hey, if you haven't got any money to give a retiree an increase, how can you give millions of dollars in incentives and bonuses and supplemental retirement income to the retirees? If you can't take care of the retirees, we're coming after your compensation. And we did that in Proxy. So they welcomed us into the office once or twice a year to talk about retiree benefits. Well, in 1999, we convinced the corporation, and Ivan Seidenberg in particular, the CEO, that there was a minimum pension that if you retired from the company, you would get a certain amount of dollars as a minimum pension per year. We found out that there were some retirees getting as little as $350 a month. Well, they agreed to change that minimum pension from the $350 a month up to $700 a month over a 3-year period. So I believe in the year 2000, minimum pensions went up to about $400 or $500. Year later, went up to $500 or $600. And I think in 2001 or 2002, they settled at $700 a month. So pensions, or the minimum pensions, doubled for many, many retirees in that 3-year period, from $350 minimum up to $700 minimum. Also, in the year 2000, we convinced the corporation that there hadn't been a COLA to our pensions for these 200,000 retirees in about 8 years. And they came out and awarded us, or agreed to give us, in the year 2000, I believe in the month of August, a special retiree supplemental pension benefit payment. One time only, not recurring, but it varied anywhere from a minimum of $2,500 to a maximum of a $20,000 payment. And the difference between $2,500 and $20,000, or anywhere in between, depended on the amount of years you were retired and the amount of pension you were receiving. The longer you were retired, the higher amount of pension you were getting, you'd get closer to the $20,000. If you were in that minimum pension status I talked about before, and maybe you only retired a short period of time, you would work yourself lower to the $2,500. But it was a one-time a lump sum supplemental pension benefit payment. Very successful. Also, we're introducing bills into the U.S. Congress on health care and retiree benefits. And we were putting proxies in at the annual share owners meeting. It's worthy to mention here that we've put in 25, maybe 26 proxies over the last, I guess, 20 or 21 years. And the interesting thing is 11 of those proxies have changed corporate governance. In other words, Verizon, or before Verizon, Bell Atlantic and Nynex, accepted our proxy so it wouldn't go to the floor for a vote of the shareholders. And 11 of them changed corporate governance. 3 of them did go for a vote, and they won a majority vote from the shareholders, and Verizon or Bell Atlantic put them into effect the following year. 8 of our proxies, Verizon sat down with us before the annual meeting and agreed with us. They sort of negotiated them off the ballot. In other words, they said, "Hey, look, guys, if you guys withdraw your proxy, we'll agree to this, this, and this." Not 100% agreement, but a substantial amount that we said, okay, fair enough. You'll do what our proxy is asking in general. We'll withdraw our proxy. It should be noted too, in the early years of maybe 2003, 2004, we won our first proxy proposal by majority vote. I had submitted a proxy along with the association because I'm a shareholder, and we submitted a proxy and we won it by more than 50% of the shareholder vote, majority vote. We should note that this was the first time in the 125, then the 125-year history of the old Bell system that any shareholder ever won a proxy that was submitted and won it by majority vote. Never happened before. So here it is, this little retiree organization won the first proxy in a 125-year history of the old Bell system. It's not our best accomplishment. Our best accomplishment is enhancing and protecting pensions and getting pension increases and protecting the health care. But by winning this proxy, it sent a ballistic missile across the bow of the executives of Verizon saying, hey, these little guys are not to be fooled around with. In fact, if I recall, Barron's, I think it's called Barron's Business Weekly, came out with a headline the next day, and the headline read, "Retirees slay their first corporate giant." Now imagine that. Here's a group of retirees, a not-for-profit organization, gets their name on a Barron's headline that says, we slayed our first corporate giant because we won the majority vote of one of our proxies. The Association of BellTel Retirees, with the help of Butler Associates, our public relations firm, and I have to mention again that Tom Butler and his associates are part of our family. They've been with us since the beginning, as we've been with Tom Butler since his beginning of starting his public relations firm. We've been featured in feature stories about our mission and our accomplishments and our strategies. We've been mentioned in many, many stories in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. In fact, I had a 2-page spread last year in the Wall Street Journal about our accomplishments. We've been in Barron's, as I mentioned, Fortune magazine. In fact, Tom Butler got us onto the Times Square, I believe they call it the Accutron. It's the digital message that goes around the building in Times Square, and it was advertising the Association of BellTel Retirees. So we've gotten around into the major media publications in this country. I probably would like also to mention that the Association of BellTel Retirees is probably the largest and the most successful shareholder activist and retiree advocate organization in this great nation. In fact, possibly in the world. People say, well, what about AARP, AARP? Well, they're a retiree organization, but they don't have the same strategy or mission statement that we do. So I say that we still can claim that our association is the largest and most successful retiree and shareholder activist organization in the nation. And maybe I'd like to close right now by just saying, at our annual meetings, when I give a little talk, or some of the mini meetings we have in different states and different cities around the East Coast, I always like to close my talk by saying, if we don't protect ourselves, who is going to protect us? Not Verizon. We are a cost center to them. We cost them money, so they're not going to protect us. We no longer work there. We built that corporation. We built the strong foundation that corporation now sits on, but we're out of mind and out of sight. And the government is not going to protect us. So if we don't protect ourselves, who will? Us and who have joined us today, please kindly support us. Our only revenues to pay our bills comes from the donations and the contributions of our membership. Thank everybody for joining us today, and enjoy your retirement. As my dad used to say, you can work long enough, but you can't be retired long enough. Good luck and goodbye, everybody.